And welcome again to the Thursday, November 13th, 2025 session of High Vibe Channeling. Today we have our regular special guest and longtime attendee and channeler, an experienced channeler, Chuck Crom, who's going to bring in his higher self called Desatu. You can find him on his podcast and his Facebook page, The Home We've Never Left. And
and a YouTube channel by the same name, The Home
Andy
We've Never Left.
And I was just going to say, and we'll let Chuck fill us in on all the other details, and then we'll wait and see what Desatu has for us today.
So, as I look around, it seems like there's a few of you guys here tonight that haven't been here when I've channeled before. Is that correct? Like, Joe, you're new, right? I don't know about, I think, Zoe, you've been around before, right?
Yes, but George in the background has not.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Hi, man. How you doing? I can see you back there. Um, so anyway, so I'll give you guys just a real brief kind of synopsis, the Reader's Digest version of kind of a little of my background. So I've explored around 35 years, I guess, and channeled information has always been kind of the foundation of what I've been associated with. Like a lot of you guys, Seth was a large part of that. Elias, many, as well as lots of other stuff. Got into lucid dreaming exploration real heavily for about 6 years and explored some shamanism for a while. I don't know, all sorts of things, just tons of different stuff. But it was always channeling or channeled sources and that information. That was the foundation for me. And then if you guys have been around High Vibe for a while, you're familiar with another individual by the name of Serge Granbois. And Serge has channeled Chris for 42 years in there someplace. And yeah. And so I've known Chris and Serge for about 20 years. And so through that, not even talking about the other stuff, but through that, it's been at least, and I don't do that any longer. Ever since I started channeling, I kind of pulled away from that, largely anyway. But through that, I was exposed to channel sources. Chris, in particular, at least twice a week, sometimes three, on occasion four times a week. And so that energy got real familiar to me, and that process became real familiar to me. And then maybe 8 years ago, while I was blogging for various groups, I began to recognize speech pattern changes in what I was writing, as well as recognizing, after reading some of the things I'd written, that I was expressing things in ways that weren't typical for me. And then 5 years ago, I believe, I began an audio podcast. And when you do an audio podcast, you have to listen to it again, the whole thing. And because the editing is, you have to edit it a little bit more closely than like with a video, because with a video, seeing someone kind of means that you're not listening as strongly. And people listen to audio podcasts with like high end stuff a lot of times and stuff. So I edit those pretty closely. And it was the same thing. There'd be segments where I didn't remember saying those things. And I could feel the energy differences and stuff. And I've had enough experience with other individuals that I had an idea that that's what was going on. And Chris had already told me years before that he was surprised I hadn't been channeling by then. Um, and there's a group of individuals that are familiar with Serge and Chris as well for many years, like me. And we meet on Sunday mornings, and we have for many years. And so I asked those guys almost a couple of years ago. I said, "Hey, how'd you guys feel if I started channeling on Sundays?" They said, "Yeah." So I did that, and early in that process, or maybe before I started it, I asked that aspect of myself. I said, "Well, what name do you want to use?" And they said, "Doesn't make any difference to us. Great one." And I said, "Fine." So Ray was familiar with that process, and actually he offered what is the second part. Um, Dissetu I have, for many years, loved the energy that's associated with the symbolism that we use in our dimension of dragons. And so I wanted to somehow express that as that energy because I feel the same energy from that more encompassing aspect of me as well: power, wisdom, strength, but power, basically. And so I ended up abbreviating it. I was going to say Drago or Draco to start with, and then I was looking for something that spoke of bridging, uh, and bridging in the context of bridging. Not that the bridge isn't already there, but making you increasingly aware of the bridge between you and the rest of you, your own unlimited self. And I was looking at various other languages from other countries to see what the words were, and Ray came up with a Sanskrit word that is Setu is a very abbreviated part of it. And so then I brought the two of those together, and I liked the way that Setu sounded. And since the rest of me said it really doesn't make any difference what name we use, that one felt good to me, and so that's what I settled on was that. So I channel for some other groups as well, um, and it's been fun. I've enjoyed it. One of the things that certainly and I think Ray can probably speak to this now. He's probably got enough of this under his belt. But I've always heard from other individuals, actually from their sources, that really the channeling benefits the channeler more than anybody else. And then they share that information with whomever. And I can certainly say that, yes, I've experienced a lot of energetic shifts and things like that as I've done this. Um, in the earlier times with the High Vibe group, I used to say, my buddy to say to is kind of like if you see those old pirate movies and they have a parrot that sits on the shoulder of the one pirate, that's kind of the scoop. Or I've got him right in my ear kind of all the time, all day long, as long as I'm paying a little bit of attention anyway. And so really I get information pretty much constantly during the day. and and so I experienced this as a blending. I am on occasion I'm I might be 90% out of the way, but that's rare. Usually it's kind of a 50-50 or 60 to say 240 me or something like that kind of a thing, which seems to be the theme of really us growing into more and more of ourselves and having access to that information. That's us. So, so yeah. So anyhow, after we do this, if you guys have got some stuff afterwards, then that's cool. I don't know how long it'll last. I have some inklings usually about what's going to be shared. I usually have an idea about a direction a little bit anyway, and so that's been there for a couple days now. So anyhow, if you guys got anything before we get started, go ahead, fire away. Otherwise, I'll take just a moment and take another sip of water, and then we'll get started.
Looks like we're good to go, Mr. Chuck.
Cool. So once again, we would greet all of you today and again express our appreciation for all of you joining us here today, because our collaboration here tonight yields so much for our experience as well, not only for yours. And it is a little interesting in that we showed up tonight maybe faster than we ever showed up for Chuck in the past. And he was a little hesitant as we pushed ourselves forward he was thinking, oh, wait, shouldn't this be just a little bit longer? But anyway, we like to have fun on occasion also. So, as is our penchant, we would like to remind you tonight of your own infinite ability. So, yes, there are individuals around you. And in this time period, in your shifting period, in this transition period for all of you, They have come to the forefront more than what they have in many, many centuries now. Individuals that are there to help you in your exploration, to help you in your own widening into who and what you are. But we love you to keep in mind that they help you in that regard. They are not the driving force of that change. You are the driving force of your own change. You are the ones that, through accessing your own greater energies, are bringing this shift forward, are bringing the changes forward within you. In that, one of the things that can be a little bit of a tripping point for individuals, because of course, the changes that you're all going through are quite new for all of you. And they do bring about happenstances, things that occur in your lives that can be quite different than things that you might have been used to even 3 or 4 years ago. So, we would like you to do something just briefly. And so, as you look at your monitor right now, just pay attention to the things that your senses are showing you, all of your senses in this moment as you do that. Now, turn your head in either direction 90 degrees and look at whatever's there. Turn it over one of your shoulders and take all of that in. Whatever it is that's there, makes no difference what it is. And then turn back to where you were. Now, many individuals believe that the rest of them resides in some sort of a far flung place. That it is, even though the language is that you are always connected to the rest of yourself, the idea is that that other you exists someplace far, far away from where you are. In this, what we want to remind you of is something that we've referred to, and others as well, as your attention. When you look at your monitors, your attention is on what's in front of you. Your hearing is hearing us. Your eyes are seeing whatever they're seeing. Maybe your fingers are feeling something. Maybe your body is feeling something. So you're having these experiences. Your attention is on your experiences. When you turned your head and you looked in a different direction, now your attention is on something else. It is now on a different configuration of energy. Now, I could ask a question rhetorically, and maybe we'll do that. As you sit in this moment and you look at your monitors, who is it that you believe is experiencing that particular experience? And again, the question is rhetorical because we will suggest to you that it is you. And by you, we are talking about the all of you. It is you that's having that experience. Now, yes, you have that experience through certain filters, and you've called those filters collectively your ego or other names. But just like if you picked up a pair of sunglasses and put them on your face right now, you would see the things on the other side of the sunglasses differently. It is still you seeing through the sunglasses into the experience. So when you are having an experience, it is you here that's having that experience. The larger you is having that experience. It's having the experience through the filters of what you call the ego, but it's still having that experience. You are having that experience. And you have created all of those filters to have a particular type of an experience in this particular physical dimension. So again, it's always you. So as you participate in whatever type of activities that you would like to participate in, regardless of what they are, to help you become more familiar with yourself, you are not distant from this you. This you and that you are the same you. You just don't recall that you're the same you. You are very focused on what's happening, shall we say, in front of you. Your attention is there. I'm guessing we'll use that language that if you have children or grandchildren in your life, there may have been a time where they're very invested in some show that they're watching on TV. And you can call their name. Perhaps you can even walk up behind them, asking them a question or whatever. And they don't respond to you because they're so very focused in on what it is that they're watching. So it's not that the rest of the house and you don't exist. It's that because they're focused so strongly on what they're focused on, that they're not paying attention to what's around them. This is your experience. It's not that the rest of you is not around you all the time. It is. And because of that, it is very accessible. It's only that you're not paying attention. And that, in fact, is what this shift of yours is all about, to help you become increasingly aware of the rest of you that's around you all the time. It may seem like you exist in a house, in a town, in a country, on a planet, in a solar system, in a galaxy. That is the illusion, perhaps we will say. The reality of things is that you exist within you, all of you. And of course, you've heard these things before. So, the journey, of course, that you're on is in that direction, to become familiar with more and more of who and what you are while you are still having a physical experience. It's almost in reverse order of what you did when you decided to come into this particular physical dimension. You came in more as a dream body originally, and slowly, shall we say, solidified into the experience. Now, what you're going to do is you're going to retain a lot of, it'll be a little different, but not at first. A lot of the feeling of the solidity of physical reality, but your awareness of the rest of you will be greatly enhanced. You'll be able to do much, much more than you're able to now. And then you will also begin to shift and change the way that you interact with this reality as far as the solidity of yourself and the reality. But that will be a long process. So you will have a great awareness of who and what you are while you still, in essence, walk around as a regular physical individual. The process of doing this, which you may probably already be aware, is had through you learning how powerful your choice is. And in that regard, what we speak of more than anything else is the idea of the beliefs that are really the foundations, the foundational filters of how it is that you have your experience in this reality. Every single thing that you experience in this reality is filtered through beliefs. The beliefs in your reality are your ideas of how things happen. In other words, you believe that creation happens a particular way. You believe in things like night and day, hard and soft, liquid, dirt, language, food, nutrients, many, 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 many things. The more expansive you is aware that you're just shifting energy and creating things. And you do it effortlessly all the time. Within the experience, you need reasons why things are happening. And these are the beliefs. These are the template of this particular physical dimension. Now, the way they've been used before is it's almost like You're a dry leaf newly fallen off a tree in the fall, and there's a strong wind blowing around, and it's blowing that wind all over the place. In the past, and for a lot of individuals still today, your beliefs dictate the responses that you have very heavily. In this shift, one of the most powerful things that you will do is you will be able to choose which belief you want to use in any particular circumstance to have the type of experience you want to have in that circumstance. It'll be like you have a huge walk-in closet that you go into, and you get to choose the shirt, you get to choose the pants, you get to choose the socks, you get to choose the jacket, you get to choose the shoes. And if you want to come in a little later and change all that, you can. If you want to keep it on all day long, you can. It will be up to you. And it's an incredibly powerful thing to be able to do in this dimension because it is through beliefs in this dimension that you have your experiences. So this shifting period of yours will, in large degree, be centered around you recognizing the association that beliefs have in your reality, recognizing when you use them in particular circumstances, how they result in then the reflection that you get back in your reality. And then the final step, to be able to know that any beliefs are as the same as any other beliefs. They're all equal. You get to choose what you want to do because it is your energy that you're configuring. And it is through those filters that you configure your energy. As you become familiar with that, you will do remarkable things in your reality. Now, does that mean that you're not already doing remarkable things in many, many places? It doesn't, because of course you are. But for now, this is where the game is happening, is in this physical reality for you, this particular physical dimension for you. Because you're already focused in all those other places. So the idea is you're here, you paid your money, you bought your ticket, you walked into this theater, and so this is the place that you want to explore. This is where you want to have the fun and the experiences that you want to have here. This part of you is this. And so in this, again, you will do incredible things once you bring this shift to finality. And even as you get close to the end of it, you'll do some very remarkable things for yourselves on this planet. But make no mistake, it will be you doing those things. Other individuals can provide examples, they can provide informations, but you have to choose. And you will. You will choose. Not all of you, but many of you will choose. Because again, when you come into this dimension, you come into this dimension because you choose to explore it in the way that you choose to explore it, which may not mean that you will be here for the whole of the shift. It may not mean that you will strongly change yourself in this shift. It may mean that you will be here for the entirety of the shift and for quite a long period afterwards, because one of the things that you will change, as we mentioned before, in this shifting period, is you will divest yourself of the idea of age and death, because you will know that it is you that chooses to leave an experience when you want to leave the experience. Once you've experienced all that you want to experience within the reality, then you will choose to move on and express something someplace else. It will no longer be the situation that your body ages at a particular rate in a particular time, and then you leave when that period is over. You will leave that behind you as you tie your shift up. You will stick around if you want to for many hundreds of years if you would like to, because your exploration will be quite exciting for you. There will be many, many things to do. You will explore what you call now space. You will travel, we'll use two terms, around space and through space. You will do both. There will be much to do. It will be very exciting. There will be a lot of experiences to be had. And if you choose to be around for those periods of times, you will most typically spend a number of hundreds of years exploring them after that point. So we believe that we will pause here and entertain, of course, any questions you have, any expansions that you would like, any clarifications that you'd like, anything at all.
Zoe?
Hi, thank you. That was really lovely. Really, really
Hello.
lovely. I've been thinking about energy recently and realizing that it's a commodity that we kind of spend. Like when we're looking at the internet, wherever we look, we're kind of spending our energy looking at looking at whatever we look at and giving our energy to that. I had a different question and now I'm forgotten my question. No, I haven't forgotten my question. So moving forward, how can we dissolve some of these beliefs and filters that are holding us back? I mean, I know that I've got rid of some, but I've still got some, and I would like to, not have to deal with them because I know they're not serving me anymore. Just a few left.
Well, really, it's a process. And typically, what happens with individuals is it's through experiences that you get the opportunity to shift your beliefs. You will have experiences, you will, in contemplation of those experiences, realize that you could have made different choices. You will have experiences that will be either very same or they'll be similar, and you'll have the opportunity and you will take that opportunity now because that more encompassing you is in fact is helping you. It's shall we say sharing energy in a manner of speaking of what you would call future use with you more powerfully than what it did before. Use that have already made shifts and choices. And so that energy is more accessible to you now. And so in that, it's through your experiences that you'll change and through paying attention to how you express yourself in those experiences. And then in an experience that it will be somewhat similar, making a different choice. And that will continue to move you along that spectrum. It's atypical for individuals to make large movements in neutralizing all their beliefs. That doesn't typically happen. Typically, it's slower for individuals. Now, of course, in the past, remember, in your 1940s and your 1950s and your 1960s, this was not happening with individuals. People were not neutralizing their beliefs. Beliefs very strongly ran their lives. People very strongly did what everybody else around them did. And of course, what you've seen, especially since 2000 came around, is more and more and more individuals now make their own choices for their own reasons, even regardless of what's going on around them. So, what we would say to you is trust in yourself, trust in the information that shows up from you, all the things that are associated with intuition, impressions, impulses, inspiration, those types of things, curiosity. Individuals have said that if one thing feels more interesting to you or more joyful to you or whatever it is, right, learn to feel those things within you and learn to follow them that feel right to you if you can. Now, if you can't in a particular circumstance, that's fine. You will get many, many opportunities to be able to do that. But just recognize when you didn't do that and try to understand the reasons why you didn't do that. Again, there is no right and wrong here. It's self-discovery always. The more there's no aspect of consciousness that judges your experience. No aspect of consciousness. You're the only one that does that to yourself. You judge your own experience. No other aspect of consciousness judges your experience. They understand the rigorous type of experience that you have all chosen to explore for yourself. It is quite rigorous. And others have said the same thing. And so allow yourself to learn through your experiences. Allow yourself to come into an understanding of how you would make different choices. And then you'll have practice to do that. And it's always going to happen for you. Now, can you do things like meditation? Can you do other things like that that can help you in that regard? Sure. Can you pay attention to your dream states and the messages that are coming there? Can you ask to shift a little bit or to understand things more deeply in dream states or even daydream states, whatever might happen to be? You can indeed. You can do those types of things, but it will happen of its own. You will have experiences because that's what your time period now is all about, is your transformation. You will transform. There is not an if. You will not transform. You will transform, all of you, or you will leave. If you're still here, you're going to transform. So you don't have to guess at that. You don't have to think, will I be left behind? You will not be left behind unless you leave. It can be your choice to leave. But if you're around, you will transform. You will change because that's the choice you've made. Otherwise, you would not be incarnated in this dimension at this time.
Thank you so much. I'm actually really inspired. You gave me a lot of information to work with. Thank you so much. I especially like what you said about consciousness does not judge what we're doing. We do that all ourselves on our own, all the judgment. So that's definitely something I'm working on, letting go of judgment of myself and everyone else. Thank
What you
you.
will find also in that is that as you are easier and easier and easier on yourself, you will be able to bring those qualities into your interactions with other individuals as well. What other people do around you will not bother you so much because you're giving yourself complete freedom. So it's really always about what you do for yourself.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Go, Arlo.
Hello, my friend.
Uh, Dragons have been mentioned, and how are you?
I'm good.
And when dragons are mentioned, my heart always perks up. There are so many now coming to humans. People are beginning to interact with them even more. Could you talk some about that and what that's going to bring to humanity?
Yes. So, especially for individuals like yourselves, explorers, shall we say, and it's been termed in the past the veils. We'll use this term because you're familiar. The veils between the experience that you have now and the rest of the experience of consciousness, especially those experiences that are, shall we say, closer to your experience. In other words, you might call them future experiences, you might call them past experiences, whatever. They are, of course, thinning greatly. And so the ability then to tie into, especially those creatures, perhaps we'll say, that you have utilized so powerfully in other parts of your history, whether it's past or future, is becoming easier to access. Now, as Chuck mentioned earlier, one of the reasons why the name that's utilized was chosen was the imagery that you have always used in this dimension for dragons. They do have a great amount of power. Many times they are quite wise. When you utilize the idea of dragons in your stories, even in your movies now, they move around your planet carefree. They move with a sense of power, with a sense of direction, with a sense of, I'm going to do whatever it is that I want to do, because they believe that they can do that. Now, the ones that, of course, express wisdom as well have compassion in that also, but they also understand their great power, right? Now, additionally, most dragons, not all, have this expression that comes forth from their mouth, right? Fire, right? A substance that is very transformative within your dimension. And that, of course, is the symbolism there as well. So it would make sense, of course, that as you as a collective move forward into a deeper understanding of self, where the wisdom resides, where the understanding of the wisdom, where the understanding of the power, where the understanding of all the things that you've utilized this symbol of dragon for, we'll say in this moment resides, of course, but it resides within you, of course, too, because there is no disconnection between this you and the rest of you. So as you move in those directions, you utilize these symptoms in an increasing way, especially for individuals that, like yourself, are so strongly impacted by them, right? Because these things mean things to you, right? Again, you are in an experience that utilizes imagery all the time. You have trees, you have grass, you have wind, you have water, you have rocks, you have televisions, you have many, 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 many things, many images that you utilize within consciousness to have your experience. And so you use these things very adeptly to have the experiences that you are. So, one of the things that you also do in your reality is you utilize things that people have some familiarity with, because it's much easier to use those things that you have some familiarity with than to bring new symbols into your experience. Now, you will do some of that. Once you expand yourself a little bit, you'll be able to use new symbols more and more. And you are doing some of that now. But mostly you're expanding the stuff that you've already have here, whether it's archaeology, whether it's things like dragons, whether it's things like another individual that you're quite familiar with, Sasquatch, whether it's witches, warlocks, whatever it might happen to be. You will utilize the things that you've utilized in the past and you can add to them. You can transform them, and they are familiar to you. So in that, you can utilize them much more easily. Now, what of course this means for you is an enhancement, a growth, changes, additions to your own power, to your own wisdom, to your own ability to help others transform, not only your own transformation, but others transform, which of course you are familiar with, as well as individuals who have sat and listened to you here are familiar with. Even though you may not recognize it, there's a hesitancy within you yet that we would suggest that you put behind you as you move into what all of us are doing here. There is a great deal for you to share. So, in blunt terms, we would suggest that you park the hesitancy someplace. And then you can view it from a distance at some point as you move into where you're going. We trust you understand what we're saying.
Yes, very, very much so. And I've already began to close the door on that hesitancy. So thank you very much for affirming this for me. And I appreciate you so much.
As we do you, my friend. Thank you very much.
Well, to say too, it's wonderful to be with you again, you and Chuck. And my question has to do about the nature of reality. And so as I've been contemplating that lately, I realized that a couple of things. One, first, that every instant is completely new. As we pulse into reality, instant by instant, we're not only new, but we have a new past and a new future. And then as I contemplated that a little more, I realized that it's not just us. Everything in our reality, every person, everything that pulses into being with us is also completely new. They have a new past and a new future based on the moment. In other words, in this moment, the reason I'm sovereign is because I have a clean slate. And I get to choose to put my focus wherever I want. And there's nothing, either from the past or the future, that's holding me back, because it's all new in this moment. Do I understand that correctly, Chuck? To say too?
You do understand it correctly. Now, of course, these filters that we spoke of earlier are the only tripping point that you have to being able to do that. But yes, in fact. And once again, When you near the completion of your shifting, and understand again, there's not a particular time where, let's say, you will shift, or Ray will shift, or Arla will shift. In other words, bring themselves towards the completion of that. It may happen for within the idea of a something that doesn't actually occur, but you're familiar with it, a common flow of time. That will not happen at the same time. It may happen at a very close time, but it could happen at very different times. You're already aware that there are individuals on your planet who have already done that. They're not large in number, but they're with you already. Now, as you do that, of course, you will, as we mentioned before, have complete freedom in being able to do all the things that you just mentioned. It's only in the process of getting there that these ideas that individuals term beliefs, that those are the things that you will concern yourself with to be able to do just what it is that you mentioned. Because yes, indeed, you have that freedom. Another individual could say that, will you? No. They would say, can you? Yes, you can. But will you? And the will you is about the beliefs.
Thank you very much. Very much appreciated, Chuck. And to say too.
You're quite welcome.
And welcome again to Say Two, of course, and thank you for bringing your energy and your smile and your host, channeler, Chuck, to us again. I'm curious about as humans and the Earth collective vibrates higher and gets closer to our future in our way of reckoning um, selves, I know that telepathy and telepathy is going to be a bigger part of that. And part of that is connecting with the animals and everything else in our environment. But I was wondering which animals would be more at the forefront and leading that edge of telepathy with humans. I know with our pets, since we already have that emotional connection, that it starts there, but I was curious more about those other beings which show up because I'm in the habit now of getting messages whenever something strikes my attention. I ask it what it has for me while I'm giving it love, and they have always given me an answer. So I was wondering if that was just everything that just happens to show up and catches my attention, or if it is more I'm drawing those creatures to me who have messages for me, or perhaps both.
So we would suggest that your experience is much along the lines of the answer that we would give. In other words, because you are the one that is creating your reality, the animals, the creatures that you interact with are, of course, intentional. And in that regard, all creatures, how shall we say this? So, all of consciousness has freedom of choice. All of consciousness. As you create a dimension in the way that you're creating this dimension, some aspects of consciousness choose to, shall we say, be the malleable aspects of your experience. Because, of course, it is your consciousness, it's all consciousness. So, when you express the experience of an animal, a creature, regardless of what it is, as a collective and as an individual, that creature is created through your energy. The moment that that occurs, that new configuration of energy has the freedom to choose. Now, depending on the themes within your dimension, and we'll talk of just your dimension, many times, especially with companion animals, those expressions of energy are such that they align themselves very, very strongly to you. Animals that you call wild animals are different in that. You still, in your experience, configure the energy of the animal. Once that occurs, the animal is free to do what it wants. It can move any place it wants to. Typically, what happens is that when they do that as a group. In other words, lions would do it as a group, whales would do it as a group. Dinosaurs have already chosen to do it as a group. On your planet, you no longer have dinosaurs. On another Earth, dinosaurs exist. They no longer exist here. So you are aware that there are certain aspects of, we'll say, souls instead of consciousness now. Whales, dolphins, things, animals of this nature, who in their creation chose to experience their reality much like you have, with a personality of a particular type. In this, of course, they interact through consciousness differently than, let's say, a skunk does, or a rattlesnake does, or other things like this. But that doesn't mean that those particular creatures, if we can use that term still, will be the ones that will more frequently interact with any particular individual. That will be up to the individual and their own more encompassing self, because their more encompassing self knows what will influence that individual the most strongly. And those creatures will be used in that context. And because all is consciousness, any information that you need can be shared through whatever creature it is, especially as you move forward into your shift. And your connections to all of consciousness becomes increasingly apparent for you. So in that, yes, you will bring yourself whatever creature, whatever type of animal, whatever it is, insect, makes no difference, that in that moment can provide you with what it is that you need, which is what your experience has been.
Excellent. And I'm guessing that applies to what some humans would call non or inanimate objects as well, because
Yes,
I've had rocks called to me or other things. So
indeed.
thank you very much. I
And
love
again, those of you who explore are becoming increasingly and at an accelerated rate aware of these things, that inanimate objects is a phrase that will belong in your history, not in your present. Because even your computer monitor may whisper something to you. The glass that holds your water may whisper something to you. It will make little difference as your years go by.
Excellent, and thank you. And I had missed out on, or I hadn't fully realized, just because we summon that energy in that particular form in our experience, that it, while it is there for us, how it responds to us in that moment is up to it.
It is
So,
up to it, but your translation of what it conveys is up to you.
great point. Thank you. Jennifer?
Yes, hello to Seitu and Chuck.
Hello, Jennifer.
I'm having a lot of opportunities lately to, stand in my truth and stand up from or state what I believe in without any fear. I'm being asked how I feel about things, and I, for the most part, have been able to respond like, the way that I should, which is the truth. And then other times I find myself falling into past patterns of choosing my words carefully. I'm always afraid of offending people or something like that. And I just I keep getting these opportunities and I don't know why I can't be consistent. So I was just wondering, what can I do to
And
stop
you will
going
keep
to the past?
getting those opportunities. There will be no shortage of opportunities. Again, as we mentioned with some others tonight, first of all, let us say this. You're all familiar with the idea. You're becoming familiar with the reality. You create your experience of reality. You create your experience of reality. Now, you will create the judgmentalism from people if you get it. You will create the skepticism from people if you get it. Okay. Now again, this doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong, that you should have done it better. If we can do one thing for you here, we would strongly suggest to divest yourself of self-judgmentalism. It helps nothing, ever. Always give yourself that second chance, that third chance, that fourth chance, and on and on and on and on and on, because you will have endless chances to do these things. There is no timeline here by which you need to finish this process. None. Because time does not exist in the way that you believe that it exists. So, yes, stand in your truth. Attempt to make the choices that you would make. Do not attempt, however, to force yourself to make those choices. You can do it at a pace that feels comfortable to you. You could do it in those times where it's easier to make those choices. That energy is supportive. That energy will then, shall we say, draw circumstances to you that will make it easier to express yourself. The more you try to force yourself, the more you judge yourself, the more you will find yourself within situations that will mean that it'll be more difficult to express yourself as who you are. The more you're easy in yourself, the more you don't say, I have to push for a deadline, all those types of things, the more you will find yourself supported by supportive energies, supportive individuals. There was a time in Chuck's life, this was perhaps 6 years ago, 7 years ago, something like that, when all of a sudden, everybody was unbelievably nice to him. And he did not know what to do with it. He did not know how to respond. It took him 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, something like that, to begin to come to that in a way that that was natural in his life. He could walk into an experience where individuals were having a heated discussion and insert himself into that discussion, not with the idea that he needed to resolve anything, just to interact with the individuals that were there. And the emotions that were there were not there in conversation with those individuals when he was having those conversations with those individuals. So the thing is that as you have your experiences, it really is practice. It really is just the opportunity to see how you respond to things, the recognition of why you respond to those things, the way you responded to those things, and then you will get another opportunity. And then if you respond still in a way you don't like, it's fine, because you will get another opportunity. And as you get those opportunities, just choose to respond a little bit differently if you can. Or it is totally acceptable to walk away from the situation. It is totally acceptable to pull yourself away from whatever is going on. Now, one of the things that we'll tell you, a little trick that you can use if you're capable of doing this, when you're involved with an individual or when you're involved in a situation, pick anything. It matters not what it is, and appreciate it. If you have an individual in front of you who is not using nice language with you, look at their clothing, pick anything. If you like their shoelaces, you think their shoes are not too bad, you like the color of their shirt, whatever. The moment that you do that, you shift the energy because you've just expressed appreciation. And so now what has to color that return of energy that's come to you? Appreciation has to color that. So it will soften that energy. Does it take some practice? It does take some practice, yes. But again, that's what you're getting anyway. practice. Your existence is moment after moment after moment after moment after moment after moment after moment, and on and on and on. There is no shortage of moments. There is no deadline that you need to meet. Right? Your ideas of linear time, we understand, are quite familiar to you. You believe that you walk down a long hallway and you open one door after the other. What you actually do is you stand in a circle with doorways or small doors all around you, and you open this one and then that one and then that one, any place in that circle. There is no linearity to your moments. Now, your moments are chosen by you, this you and the rest of you, in accordance with the way you want to explore this reality, much of which you have yet to understand fully. But you understand more and more of it all the time. We would say for you, something that you already do, and something that we believe that you should maybe focus on a little bit more, is to utilize those quiet times that you take for yourself during the day and expand into yourself, not necessarily with questions, but just be there and see what shows up for yourself. And then apply that to what you're doing with your life.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
To say to my last question has to do with time and space. So my understanding is that each instant when we come into a new reality, we also find ourselves on a new timeline, and therefore we're never dependent on anybody else's timeline because we're actually creating our own every instant. And hand in glove with that is space. You mentioned space earlier, the exploration of space. And as you know, from a Sethian perspective, there is no time and space the way we perceive them. So I was wondering what that exploration is like. How does that take place?
So
Thank
the
you.
exploration of space will be the exploration of your idea of space. Because, of course, you will still have ideas of space. You will still have beliefs there that you will utilize about space. So there's the idea of space. That you will explore because, again, the idea is in the experience of the exploration. And so as you change your experience, it's not that you move from this awareness of yourself to the full awareness of yourself and all those very cool things that you could do in between, you're just going to disregard. You're going to explore many, many ideas about all these things that you ought to utilize. Space will be one of them. So it's your ideas of space that you will explore. Time's the same thing. And it really isn't about time. It's really just about moments and your configuration of moments. Now, let's take a building. Let's take something that you're all familiar with. The largest pyramid in Egypt. Yes, this structure has stood there in your terms for many, many, many thousands of years, right? And so what happens to it in that flow of time? It ages, does it not? It wears, it weathers, right? Because this is what happens over time. This, of course, is not what's actually going on. What you're doing is you're actually creating that pyramid moment by moment by moment to align with your ideas of time and your ideas of things like change, how things do change with quote unquote age. And of course, you do this with yourselves as well. You have ideas of what should happen to you as this linear flow of time occurs in your life. But again, the malleability of that in your life is increasing. It just depends on whether you would like to explore that or not for yourselves. But yes, it's there is no real timeline that you find yourself on, regardless of where you shift yourself. All you're doing is you're utilizing different ideas of time and then creating the moments around you to match that idea.
Thank you so much to say too. What
You're
a
welcome.
pleasure.
And we have, looks like, run out of our questioners to say to. Thank you again for your expansive answers and for delighting us all with the information and wisdom which came forth.
And we would like to say that we are particularly fond of the butterfly that you've added to your bookcase.
Thank you. I love the monarchs, and I saw that, and I don't even remember where I saw it, but as soon as I saw it, I'm like, that's mine. And I got it, and it was on another piece of paper, and I cut it out, and now it has a prominent place as a reminder. I guess I'll need to add a dragon as well.
Of course, that metaphor is a very powerful one, correct? From the caterpillar through the chrysalis to the butterfly, which is the experience that you're all having. It is also utilized in one of Chuck's websites as well. So,
Excellent.
indeed. So, in closing, it is an exploration. It is a process. It is a process. Your moments will flow to you. Your more encompassing you brings you your moments. It understands your life thoroughly as it does that. There's no need to hesitate in meeting your moments. There's always something to become increasingly aware of about yourself in your moments, even those challenging moments. But again, your moments don't show up in your life. We'll use the term willy-nilly. They show up purposefully in your life. So embrace them as being purposeful. And again, there's always another one. There's always the next opportunity. And you're the only critic that you have in reality. Nobody else criticizes your choices. Certainly not the rest of you. So if everybody else can give you a break, you can as well.
So it's like the life shows up in our moments, not our moments show up in our life.
You could say that, yes.
I already did. Thank you.
Yes, indeed. So again, thank you very much. We appreciate again being with all of you. And our good buddy Chuck now will become a little bit more at the forefront.
And Chuck sounds a lot like the Seitu.
Doesn't he though?
I know.
It's amazing. I don't know how that happens.
And another wonderful session. And we know that the Seitu is a permanent backpack for you now.
Yeah. It's as I I know I've shared with you guys at various times how, because here sometimes in various places, I'll get a shift in how I feel the potency of that energy, of Setu's energy of me, and so yeah, it's just such an interesting journey. And the thing is that everybody does it in their own unique way. All of you guys do it in your own unique way. It doesn't matter how you do it. Everybody's got that connection with themselves. All you have to do is just have fun with it. Really, I'll suggest, just enjoy it, and trust it. You find yourself trusting it, you'll find it flows into your life with an increasing pace. That's what I found. Gosh, so many interesting things happen. Even in regular mundane life, so many interesting things happen. Like I have this, God, what is it termed again? Reputation, I'll say, at work, that if something's having a problem with the computer, all I have to do is walk up to the computer and tap a few keys. I don't even have to go into it and do anything. And it starts working the way it's supposed to. So they just go, get Chuck over here. And believe me, I'm not an expert in software. at all. I mean, I know my way around a computer a little bit, but and yeah, it's been like that for a while now.
Yep.
So
So,
yeah,
so do you tell them that, hey, it's your belief that I'm going to fix this computer that actually does the work?
no, I don't do any of that with them. But they know that I explore these types of things, and they know that Chuck has a very different way of looking at things than they do. And they know that things happen a little differently around me too. So that's enough. Yeah. In fact, I remember one time a while ago, 12, 13, 14 years ago, um, I was talking with another member of the management staff there, and I'd been talking about dreams and my exploration of dreams, and so she said, "Hey, I've had this dream. Can I tell you about it?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." And so we sat in this office, by ourselves, and she talked to me about the dream, and I told her all about her life through the dream, and she was a little bit uh, afraid. Actually, she didn't know what to do with that. And she goes, "How do you know all that from the dream that I told you?" And I discussed a little bit of that with her, and stuff. And she never discussed dreams with me again after that. So I've learned in a variety of ways to not go too far with individuals. So actually, it's become something that I've become quite adept at. I feel into individuals all the time when I talk to them. I'm doing that while I speak with each of you. Desatu, of course, is also, I don't go down roads any longer. Even me, when I speak with people that they're not ready to have some exposure to anymore. So there's no advantage in that. So yeah,
I've
I
been
can
less,
I can express everything I need to express by using their own beliefs. So yeah.
and thank you for that. Anyone else have any comments for Chuck?
I had an experience similar to Chuck's. I've done so many dreams, people know about it. And a dear friend of mine started asking me about his dream. And then he ran out of the room. And years later, I found out that he was having an affair. And and it showed right up in the dream right away. And he really wasn't ready for that.
No,
And
yes.
yeah, and so yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about, Chuck.
So so I work with a lot of clients at work day after day after day after day, and some of them I've come to know. And there will be interesting stuff happens. So there'll be times where I'll like be walking past where they are, and the energy will draw me to them, and I'll look at them, and their energy in that moment changes dramatically, and they will say something to me that has a meaning to me, and then that energy's gone, and then they're back again. And now
Wow.
they talk to me like just normal. There's just so much interesting stuff that goes on. It's just so fun.
Everything is a miracle. Everything is a synchronicity. Yeah.
That's so
I
it's very
love it.
cool. And that's the thing, it's just, I'll suggest that again, try to have fun with it. Don't
Yeah.
be so serious about it. There's no need to be serious about it. It's who you are. And I understand, I mean, when I was exploring and stuff and still now, I think to some degree, I can find myself doing that a little bit. But the more you just trust it, the more you just have fun with it. And groups like this are fantastic. To be able to express yourself in these types of environments is so very nice, so very helpful, I believe, to your movement, because it allows you to be you, as much you as you can be in the moment anyway. You don't have to hide who you are. You get to express who you are. And I'll suggest the more that you can do that, the more you'll find that that is there for you to utilize. So, yeah. And I think Jennifer is aware of that. I think since even showing up with these guys, I'm guessing that she's experienced a lot of movement in her life along those regards. So, yeah. It's great if you can find yourself. Don't tire yourself out. Don't put yourself. Don't join so many groups that oh, you don't know what to do. Which one do I? Whatever. Pick the ones that feel good. And the ones that allow you to be who you are. You know. So yeah, I think that's a very beneficial thing to do.
Okay, and I'm going to wrap the first session, and then we are going to move on and have Yvonne wishes to introduce herself.